Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special live episode of The Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel, where the Oscars are in. The Oscar nominations for 2024 are in, and I am the Outlaw John Roca, ready to talk about these Oscars nominations. So many things to get into here. We're going to try to keep this show to about an hour and 15 minutes. I know the new Avatar trailer just dropped, so I got to jump on that with Geek Buddies to do a Geek Bites reaction to that one. So I'm going to keep it limited to the categories I'm going to talk about, keep it limited to the things I want to say about it. I'm sure we'll have more to say about it on the hot mic, and of course, more to say about it on the Geek Buddies as well later on this week. But I wanted to jump on and do an immediate reaction to these things. Watched it this morning. A lot of snubs, a lot of surprises, a lot of interesting decisions here. And there's stuff to be complaining about. There's stuff to be excited about. So it's an interesting mixture of nominations for sure. And let's not waste any time getting into it. So I'm going to jump into this kind of stuff. But just to remind you all, Streamlabs Super Chats are open. If you want to send in your thoughts and questions and comments as we go along, please feel free to do that. I think the address is pinned there, or is actually in the description of the video, and I'm going to pin it in the chat in just a second. But this was an interesting time here, interesting set of nominations that I think is fascinating to take a look at. Some facts about the Oscars here as you take a look at this. This is Oppenheimer. This is Oppenheimer's playground, basically. 13 nominations for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Pretty fantastic there. Poor Things had 11 nominations. Killers of the Flower Moon had 10 nominations. You know, as I've said, I'm not the biggest fan of Killers of the Flower Moon, but I'm not also surprised that the Academy gave it 10 nominations. Barbie got 8 nominations, and Barbie is where we're going to find a couple of really big snubs when we get to those categories in just a second. The Oscars will take place on March 10th, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel yet again. Also, Martin Scorsese passed Steven Spielberg as the living director with the most Oscar nominations. So congratulations to Martin Scorsese for that. And for those of you who are fans of the Cinephiles or don't know about the Cinephiles, that is the podcast that I host with my director friend in Los Angeles named Steve Morris. We have begun our season of Scorsese. So it seems like the timing is perfect here. We're going to release our 2 hour and 15-minute conversation on the films and impact of Martin Scorsese as a director this Friday. And then we're going to jump into redoing Goodfellas. We're going to jump onto Raging Bull. And for Easter, we're going to do The Last Temptation of Christ. So very much Scorsese going on in the world of the Cinephiles. If you don't know about that podcast, it is my podcast where we talk about great films every week on the show. It's at 250,000 downloads a week almost. And so it's a really great show that a lot of people love and enjoy. And if you haven't tried it out, I recommend you try it out. We've been doing it for 7-8 years now, and it's a great conversation with Steve Morris, one of my dear friends, and a great director and a great director friend who has directed a number of things as well here throughout his career. But anyway, all right, let's get into the big stuff here. We got 125 of you joining me live. Please remember to hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel down below as we go along, leave comments if you're watching later. I'll do my best to do time codes later on down the road today, but I've got a very busy morning and early afternoon, so I can't guarantee it just yet when I'll put the time codes in if you're watching from the beginning, but hopefully I'll have put them in by the time you're watching it. But yeah, great to see everybody in here. Clarissa, Murderanta, Haunted Adam, thank you, Sharon Pollitt. Really appreciate that super sticker. Very kind of you for sure. Oh yeah, and I should bring up the Streamlabs address to make sure you guys when you guys send stuff in, I'll be able to read them as we go along here throughout the show for sure. All right, let me get into that here. Talk amongst yourselves just for a second here as I log into this stuff and make sure it's good to go. Yes, allow. And let's see here. Yeah, I probably should have done all this, but I was rushing around all morning because I've got the sports show later on today as well. So there's a lot going on here in the world of the Outlaw Nation. But let's hit the first category, and I'll bring up I'll pin the Streamlabs stuff in just a second. Let's bring up Best Picture. Let me bring that up right now. There's the list. There's the nominees for Best Picture. American Fiction here, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So here are the things that jump out at me. 2 foreign films here with The Zone of Interest, considered technically a foreign film, and Anatomy of a Fall, a French film, which France, I think in the end messed up by not nominating that movie in their best international feature category as a possibility. They nominated The Taste of Things from Juliette Binoche, and that seems to be a mistake here when you look at it, because that did not make the cut for best international feature. But let's focus on best picture. As I'm saying, quite a mixture of films here. American Fiction, a little bit of an indictment on the white liberal, but also told from a black point of view, and also a guy who's experiencing his own sort of come to Jesus moment about his condescension and his approach to the world and his arrogance and elitism, which I think is a fascinating film. Anatomy of a Fall, as I said, fantastic 2.5-hour French film. Did she or did she not a murder mystery there, courtroom mystery there? Barbie, essentially the Top Gun Maverick of this season, a very popular film, made over $1 billion. People love this movie. Wanted more nominations for this movie. We'll get to that. The Holdovers, which is my second favorite film of the year, and certainly one that's growing as people enjoy getting to see this thing on Peacock and in the theaters. Killers of the Flower Moon, no surprise, Martin Scorsese. People love Martin Scorsese in the Academy. Maestro, this one is a bit of a shock. There were some pushbacks on Maestro, but it ended up getting the nomination, and I thought maybe it was going to sink and another film would slide in there. Oppenheimer, no surprise at all here. Oppenheimer is my number one favorite film. I think this thing is going to win Best Picture. Past Lives, a fantastic film. If you guys haven't done yourselves a favor to watch Past Lives, you need to. Really touching, moving film. Takes a while to get going, but once it gets going, I think it really hits you in the heart as you're watching the movie. Poor Things, what a fascinating and interesting film that demands a lot of you when you're watching it, for sure. It walks that line between pretentious and artistic really well here. And I love Yorgos as a director, so I enjoyed that movie. And Zone of Interest, which I think is a fascinating film that explores the Nazi point of view in the Holocaust situation by having this family living right next to the concentration camp that they are in charge of. Sandra Huller delivering a wonderful performance there as the commander's wife. I can't think of the actor who plays the main guy there, but a great job there by Jonathan Glazer with the direction. So fantastic to see it being nominated. But some people might argue that there are some movies missing from this particular these nominations here. Certainly, we've got The Color Purple. People really like The Color Purple. I certainly liked The Color Purple. I thought it was a fantastic musical, really well directed there as well. Society of the Snow. I mean, if we're going to let foreign films in to have a conversation here, more into the Best Picture categories, a lot of people are discovering Society of the Snow on Netflix and talking about how great it is. And we're trying. So I saw some of the critics, my fellow critics, trying to drum up buzz for it, but in the end, it did not make the cut there for Best Picture. Origin is another one, Ava DuVernay's film Origin, that a lot of people are talking about now. Finally, I think that was such a colossal mistake by the distributors to not have this thing out earlier, to not build up the campaign earlier. I think it's A24. I think they should have done a better job promoting Origin, and unfortunately just got lost in the wheels too late and got completely chewed up here. And Saltburn, a lot of people think Saltburn was a bit of a snub not to have Saltburn. Emerald Fennell's follow-up film to Promising Young Woman, which I thought was fantastic. And so Saltburn, Everything Everywhere All at Once had butt plugs. Saltburn, walking around with the D in the wind. I think maybe people hit that wall with this one. I think this one slid into pretension as well for some people and didn't 100% like it. May December is another snub. Now, I personally am very happy to see May December not doing that well or not getting that many nominations, because I thought that film was a little bit of an overblown fabrication where people were creating this campaign to try to get that thing nominated. Certainly a fine film, a good film, solid film, but not a great film, not an Oscar nominated Best Picture film. I was really surprised to see how many people were falling all over themselves to try to make that happen. Kind of like they tried to make Andrea Riseborough happen with that nomination last year. Felt a little similar to that. And to be fair, Origin tried to have this campaign. Angelina Jolie was holding screenings at her house, essentially trying to do what happened last year for Andrea Riseborough to get Origin a nomination, but unfortunately it wasn't enough here at the end of the day. So, I mean, just a fascinating collection of films that I think reflect our tastes as a society, reflect our growing tastes in foreign films. We're seeing more and more people crossing that line and enjoying foreign films. So, I mean, I have questions about how far out we're going with the foreign films. Where do we end up with all of this? And do we start to open the categories up more and more for more people to suggest foreign films to be nominated for Best Picture? So, an interesting collection for sure of pictures here to look at. But I like it. But I think for me, Oppenheimer is the choice here. But I'm very happy to see American Fiction nominated. Very happy to see Anatomy of a Fall nominated. I think you could have moved Killers of the Flower Moon, but there's no way you were taking that off with Scorsese being such an Academy darling. And Maestro. I think those are the two shaky choices that if the Academy wanted to be bold and wanted to go in another direction and nominate something like The Color Purple or Society of Snow or Origin or Saltburn, it absolutely could have to kind of maybe make a bold statement about how it's looking at its nominations. But the Oscars are the Oscars. They're going to have that kind of regal, self-important approach to things. And it's not a criticism. It's just the way they see themselves as the curator of art. And they're not about following whatever the trends are or whatever. They're going to do what they do. And I think these nominations are an interesting reflection of that. Let's move on to the next one. Best Actor here in a Leading Role. You've got Bradley Cooper here for Maestro. Colman Domingo for Rustin, which I think is a wonderful surprise. Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. When you look at this collection of actors, this is a fantastically talented collection of actors. 2 Black actors there in the Best Actor in a Leading Role, which I think is fantastic to see personally. Bradley Cooper is a bit of a surprise for me overall for Maestro. Again, I thought he did an excellent job in the film, but there was such a campaign against the movie, the pushback against the movie, that I thought it was eventually going to get swallowed up here, and Cooper was not going to get the nomination there for Best Actor. A lot of people saying Andrew Scott should have slid in there to take that spot from Bradley Cooper here. But again, the Academy enjoys Bradley Cooper, likes Bradley Cooper. Leonard Bernstein is a very legendary person in the arts, both on stage and on screen. And I think, a lot of people have very strong feelings for Leonard Bernstein. And so maybe that was kind of the motivation for the nomination as well. Although Cooper did a wonderful job, I thought, as an actor watching an actor. And listen, I may get in a little bit of trouble for this, a little bit of controversy, but I tell you, when I see non-actors talk to me about who's doing great work on screen, acting-wise, I always get a little trepidatious because for me, I know what I'm looking for as an actor. I know exactly when a person is delivering a damn good performance, when they're playing the nuance, when they're showing micro emotions in their face as they're reacting to things, stuff that's overdone, stuff that's subtle, stuff that's in there. I just know that. What non-actors look at is, do I believe this person? So, I'm not saying their opinions aren't valid. Of course they are. They're credible, all that. But I also think some people were coming back at Bradley Cooper who've never acted a fucking day in their lives. And it drove me insane because what he was doing here was incredible in bringing Leonard Bernstein to life. What he was doing with his voice, what he was doing with his body, with his mannerisms. And when people put up the comparison in that final composing scene where he's getting all into it and compared that to the actual Leonard Bernstein video, it wasn't that far off. So, all these people laughing at a person who was really putting his heart out there to create this film and trying to create a masterpiece when they haven't done shit, I think was hilarious to me to watch. So I applaud the Bradley Cooper nomination, but I really applaud the Colman Domingo nomination. Rustin is like Lincoln. I'll say that, the film Lincoln. Like, I don't think the film Lincoln is that good, but I think Daniel Day-Lewis's performance is transcendent. And I think Colman Domingo does a wonderful job in a decent film, a good film, not a great film, in Rustin. And so I like that they gave the nomination to Colman for this. And Colman is up-and-coming actor, and it's great to see him finally getting some love here. And of course, up-and-coming, he's been working at it for a number of decades, but finally getting his love, finally getting the recognition. That was great to see. DiCaprio, some people felt that DiCaprio was a snub. He was miscast, in my opinion. So I was not surprised not to see him get a not to see him get a nomination at all. I thought that was valid on so many levels to not have DiCaprio being nominated here. I do think this is a 2-horse race. I do think it's Cillian versus Giamatti. I think Giamatti pulls it out at the end, by a nose or by a hair. But I love that Jeffrey Wright was nominated. I think this is the best work of Jeffrey Wright's career as an actor. So if you haven't seen American Fiction, I can't encourage you enough. It's funnier than you think it is. It is not overdone. It is not pretentious. It is not banging you over the head. It's a much more subtly brilliant comedy dark comedy than you think. So go and take a look at that film if you haven't seen it yet. What are some of the people you wanted to see nominated? Let me know as we go along through here. We have 225 of you joining us right now. Thanks so much. I appreciate it madly. Please make sure you hit a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel down below. That's really important. Trying to march to that 50,000 subscribers. Would love for you to come aboard. Hit that like button as well. And later on, if you're watching, you can always send support to the channel, hitting that super thanks button, or by leaving a comment down below as well. We appreciate that as well. All right, let's move on to, and I will get to your Streamlabs and super chats. I'm going to take a break at the half-hour mark, and on the back end of that, we'll get to your Streamlabs and super chats. So send them in, and I will answer them as we hit that mark here in the show. All right, let's move on to Best Actress here. It is Annette Bening for Nyad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Huller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, Emma Stone for Poor Things. All right, so I am a big fan of this category and the ladies that are in this category. Annette Bening and Nyad, I thought she was fantastic at Nyad. Jeff Snyder is the one who kind of pushed me to see that movie. I watched it on Netflix. I thought her and Jodie Foster were fantastic in the film. And by the way, if you're not watching Night Detective or True Detective Night Country, you need to be watching that on Max. Jodie is doing wonderful work on that show. Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, no surprise. Sandra Huller, she has been building through a number of the award shows, so no surprise she got the nomination. Carey Mulligan and Maestro, she is the reason to watch Maestro overall. I think her performance is the most consistent performance. As much as I enjoyed Bradley, and I've already gone off on Bradley a few seconds ago, I think Carey Mulligan's is an even better performance in that movie. She is stellar and radiant and powerful and commanding. She owns the screen when she's on it, and I loved watching her in that movie. And Emma Stone, no surprise in Poor Things. A lot of people have been talking strongly about Emma Stone's performance there. It is a balls out there. Well, I should use another term. It is a guts out there performance, just completely open and vulnerable and available to the emotions that are happening for this character as she's going through the things she's going through and the experiences and the weirdness of it all and the message that the film is trying to send and what her journey is like throughout the film. So I thought she did a wonderful job. No surprise to see her getting nominated. But this is going to be an interesting category because let me throw it out there. Lily Gladstone, a lot of people loving Lily Gladstone. I certainly love Lily Gladstone in the movie. But we've seen her not win every one of these awards for these awards organizations. So does that open the door for someone like Carey Mulligan, who has won a couple of these awards here throughout the awards process here? Does this open the door for Emma Stone, who's won a couple of the awards here through the process? So this is a much more tighter race than people think when you're looking at this Best Actress in a Leading Role category. I think it is between Lily Gladstone and Emma. But don't be surprised if Carey Mulligan slides in there and takes it. And I'll tell you why. Because Lily Gladstone does a wonderful job in Killers of the Flower Moon. But Scorsese does, sorry, y'all. Scorsese does her a disservice by essentially drugging her for the back half of the movie. So she's in a haze in the back half of the movie when there could have been much more between her and Ernest. There could have been, I think that's the character that DiCaprio plays. There could have been more of a back and forth between them. Lily Gladstone does an incredible job for the time that she's on screen and she's cognizant, but that drugging her for a little bit is my problem with the movie. All of a sudden it becomes about De Niro and DiCaprio, and I want to know about Lily Gladstone's character much more and the Osage people than I want to know about DiCaprio and De Niro, and I think that just might affect Lily Gladstone winning. But a lot of people, there's a lot of progressives, a lot of liberals in the voting body who would want to vote for her also because it's a phenomenal performance. It isn't a token voting in any way, shape, or form. It's a phenomenal performance. So you can kill two birds with one stone, in essence, if you go with Lily Gladstone. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why I'm getting a frog in my throat. Carey Mulligan here. As I said, great stuff. Emma Stone, great stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of those three ladies win. I know there'll be some upset if it isn't Lily Gladstone, which I totally understand. But look, man, all three of those performances are fantastic. So is Sandra Huller's performance in Anatomy of a Fall. And I thought it was great to see Annette Bening getting nominated for Nyad because I liked her in that movie overall. So, but here's the snubs, right? The big snubs are Margot Robbie and Greta Lee. Margot Robbie for Barbie and Greta Lee for Past Lives. I thought maybe Annette Bening would be moved out for Margot Robbie or Greta Lee. I could see that happening, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody would have been upset about that. But, you know, Annette Bening is an Academy darling. From the Grifters on, people have enjoyed, in the Academy, people have enjoyed Annette Bening as an actress, and she does a wonderful job in Nyad. So I'm not 100% surprised. And it's fascinating because, I mean, it is Margot Robbie who anchors Barbie. That film works because of the journey that Margot Robbie takes the character of Barbie in the movie. So I absolutely understand the snubs and the anger and the frustration people feel about Margot Robbie not being nominated. I saw some people mentioning that she wasn't nominated for Babylon as well, and I thought she did a wonderful job, even though I hated that the last few minutes of the movie. It was terrible, but like her performance was stellar in that film. So it's really fascinating why she's not getting these noms. Considering she got nominated for I, Tonya, do they see her as more of a populist actress? I don't know. I mean, Nyad wasn't seen by many people, but clearly enough people at the Academy saw it to nominate her. But Margot Robbie, that's $1 billion film. And I think she does wonderful work in that movie. I mean, when she walks into the cafeteria and the first time she sees America Ferrera's daughter and has that conversation, that's an incredible acting moment to go from joy and happiness to utter rejection and sadness and pain. And then her sitting at the bus station with that older woman having the exchange is fantastic. The back and forth she has with Ryan Gosling, those are incredible stuff. So I was just really surprised not to see her be one of those nominees here, and also giving love to a younger actress. You know, Annette Bening has had her time in the sun here, and so just kind of a surprise. Greta Lee, I wasn't too surprised by that, although I thought she was wonderful in Past Lives. It's such a two-hander of a film that I think maybe that got lost in the process here, and in the end, they liked the movie, but they didn't necessarily think Greta Lee was doing anything that was out there in terms of incredible performance compared to the other actresses. So it's just an unfortunate situation where she kind of got left out of this category when she delivered a fantastic performance, I thought, in Past Lives. So it's such a shame. Yeah, and Fantasia Berrino here for The Color Purple. I personally wasn't too surprised that she wasn't nominated. There didn't seem to be this groundswell of desire for Fantasia to get the nomination. It was much more Daniel Brooks and her work in The Color Purple, or Colman Domingo, who I thought was really great in The Color Purple as well. Fantasia was fantastic in the movie, though. I thought her performances of the songs, her coming back in and really kind of owning the role again after all these years of playing it on Broadway, I thought was great. It was great to see. You know, there was such a maturity and a strength to what she did in the film. And Taraji P. Henson as well, I thought was damn good. But in the end, I didn't see a groundswell of people calling for Fantasia Berrino to be nominated, or Fantasia to be nominated here. I wouldn't have been surprised if she was nominated, but you know, when you only have 5 slots, this is the problem. And listen, this is the number one thing that I come out of the nominations in my head thinking, and that is 5 is not enough. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. 5 is not enough. There are more movies. There are more movies. We're seeing more international features coming into contention. If you're increasing the pool, and let me tell you, there's a stat that came out this morning in the New York Times, 90 representatives of 90 countries voted for the Oscars. 90 countries. If 90 countries are voting for the Oscars, you have to increase the number of nominees in each category. Don't give me this shit that 5 makes it exclusive. Stop living in the Stone Age, okay? You have to increase the number of nominees because there are more movies that are in contention for these nominations. So if there are more movies, then percentage-wise, you're still nominating like 8. You could go to 8. You're still nominating the percentage that you used to nominate, which you base the 5 nominees off of. You're like, okay, 5 is good. This is the amount of movies. 5 seems fair. Great. Now we've increased the number of movies. 8 now seems fair. So they need to increase the number of nominees because too many talented people are being left off. And yes, being Academy Award nominated, you don't even have to win, gives you negotiation and leverage for certain films when you're trying to get a contract as an actor. So I think that's also important, or a director. I think that's also important as well. So there have to be more noms, for God's sake. So, all right, let's move on to another category here, and then I'll take a break. And let's move on to Best Director. Let's take a look at this one here. Justin Triet, Anatomy of a Fall. Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. And Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. So very interesting to see these nominations here. Again, 2 quote-unquote foreign films. Yes, Anatomy of a Fall is French, so that's much more qualified. Glazer, that's a UK film. So yes, foreign, yes, I guess, but certainly a powerful film. And look, these are 5 fantastic directors who delivered 5 incredible movies, depending on who's making the judgment. Oh, but I mean, all of these movies were nominated for Best Picture. So you look at that and you go, okay, all right, Best Director, that seems to make sense. Justin Triet, Anatomy of a Fall, Scorsese, Nolan, Yorgos. But here's the snubs and surprises, right? Alexander Payne for The Holdovers. That is the second best movie of the year. Why, in my opinion, why is Alexander Payne not nominated in this category? And then you look at Greta Gerwig for Barbie. Look, Barbie is an incredible movie. It is a technical marvel. What she is able to do going on this story, creating Barbie Land, then juxtaposing with the human world, then the stuff that they go through with Ken, the stuff they go through with Barbie, America Ferrera's character, her daughter. There is so much throughout that movie. The musical sequences, the jokes that they're playing, the commentary, this gender politics commentary that they're making throughout. I thought she did an incredible job directing that film and landing this massive ship. I mean, just the idea that you can make a Barbie film based on this plastic doll and create a film that made $1 billion and caused a lot of think pieces and conversations about gender dynamics in our world. That alone, you have done the job. It should have gotten you a nomination. Do I think you can kick out Glazer or maybe Justin Triet, or in my opinion, Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon? Yes, absolutely. As I said, Killers of the Flower Moon, first hour and a half, phenomenally directed. Then he drugs Lily, and it becomes something that I don't really want to see. And so this is a problem that I have with Killers of the Flower Moon. So I think you could have moved that out, moved Barbie in. Yeah, it'd have been controversial, blah, blah, blah. But at least you have a woman in there who deserves to be in there. Not a token nomination. Don't get it fucking twisted. She deserves to be in that category. She deserves to be amongst those dudes. And she should have been nominated, I think, at the end of the day. And Alexander Payne as well. I mean, I would probably move out Jonathan Glazer and Scorsese. Even though I like Zone of Interest, I thought it was a fantastic, unsettling film. There was a couple of artistic flourishes when it goes to black frame for a while and plays that score that I thought was a little too like, look how artistic I am, stroking my artistic brain ego, that I thought was a bit much in Zone of Interest. I didn't have those problems with Barbie or with The Holdovers. I had literally no problem with The Holdovers. Every fucking scene is perfect in that movie. So to me, I'm just like shocked that Alexander Payne wasn't nominated. And I wonder if that was born from, the previous accusations. Rose McGowan saying what happened to her. And I wonder if that affected people voting for him. I wonder if that was something that kind of snuck into their minds. I don't know. It's people aren't going to reveal too often about why they voted a way that they did, but really surprised by that. The Bradley Cooper snub, I'm not so much surprised by that. As I said, there were people complaining about that movie and feeling like it was a little overdone. So I'm not surprised he wasn't nominated for Maestro. I thought Cord Jefferson should have been in the conversation for American Fiction. I thought Blitz Bazawule should have been in the conversation for The Color Purple. So again, I come back to this thing. 5 nominations when you're including films from foreign countries more is nonsense in terms of the number of nominations. It should be 8 or 10 for directors here because, listen, the Academy is not just about respecting or honoring the greatness of film for that year. The Academy is also about showing you a blueprint of where you can go as a young film goer. Like if you're getting into movies, if you're getting into being a cinephile, the Oscars provide you a roadmap or a blueprint that you can follow to build yourself up to become a cinephile, right? So it's about highlighting the best of the year. If you keep leaving out some of these incredible directing performances, some of these incredible films, some of these incredible acting performances, then directing performances, direction. If you keep leaving out some of these directors, some of these phenomenal movies, some of these incredibly fantastic performances, then you're doing a disservice to the up and coming people who are going to fall in love with movies, or that you want to fall in love with movies, that you want to watch the Oscars, because that's the thing. Also, that's a problem that they've had for quite a while now. Ratings. Well, how do you increase ratings? You allow more of these films to be in conversation and contention. Allowing more of these films to be conversation and contention allows more people to become cinephiles, and more people want to take part and participate and argue and debate and watch. And I think that's important. That's my point of view on it. I'm sure my brother Jeff Snyder on the hot mic feels differently, but that's how I feel about it when you look at it. So I like this collection of directors. I would absolutely move Scorsese out for Alexander Payne. I'd probably move Glazer out for Greta Gerwig. Yeah, I mean that's what I would do, because I think Anatomy of a Fall is stellar, just absolutely stellar. In any other, I think in any other year, Anatomy of a Fall is in contention for Best Picture, like to win, not just the nomination, to win. So. All right, well, let's take a quick break here. We're at the 30-minute mark, and I will answer some of your Streamlabs and Super Chats on the other side. Then we'll get into Best Supporting Roles, and we'll talk quickly through Screenplay, and then maybe hit the animation stuff as we wrap up here, because I know the new Avatar trailer dropped. I've got to jump on with the guys and do a trailer reaction. So let's take a quick break here, and we'll be back on the other side of this right after this. All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. We've got almost 300 of you hanging out with me live. It's I'm very honored by that, very blessed by that. Thank you so much. Please make sure you hit a like on the video and share it on your social media later on today. If you're watching after we've gone live, if you're watching now or watching later, please hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to that 50,000 subscribers. That's really important here for the channel to get to 50,000. So please hit a subscribe and hit that bell button to let you know when we're dropping shows just like this. You know, I just woke up this morning, saw the nominations, like, fuck it, I'm going live. Let's have a conversation about this stuff. So I appreciate you all hanging out with me and us having some fun doing it. All right, thank you to Sharon Pollitt for this wonderful super sticker. Thank you, Sharon. Always love your support of the channel here. Simon Section says, glad to see American Fiction getting some noms. Gonna check it out today. Absolutely, Simon. Again, if you haven't seen American Fiction, gang, go and see it. Trust me, it's a fun movie. Yeah, it's thought-provoking. It's had conversations, but it's about this guy confronting his own stuff, confronting the issues with his family, confronting himself, while also taking down the white liberal a little bit, which I think is beyond time for them to be taken down a little bit in the movie. And it's intelligently well written. It's emotionally moving. And the ending of it is really going to get you. So just my own personal thoughts on American Fiction. JMB says, beyond a long shot, but I wished Yamazaki got a director nom. He directed a monster movie, a human drama movie, and intertwined the two and the special effects. I hear you, JMB, but that was never going to happen. Maybe in a weaker year, Yamazaki gets a nomination for directing The Boy and the Heron, but no, it was never going to happen. And I hear you, a long shot, beyond a long shot for sure. But as I said, if they increase nominations, then there's an excuse to look at other nominees to get those people in contention, possibly for nominations. And maybe you get a Best Director nom for an animated film, which I think is beyond past time that we saw that. So good suggestion there, JMB. And Mike Joyce says, what's up, Mike? He says, happy to see Anatomy of Fall get all those nominations. Why on earth did France not make it their official submission? Well, I mean, it's the French. You never know with the French. They've got very unique points of views, unique ideas on the way things go and where they want to go with this stuff. So I'm not 100% surprised that the French were like, this is just a courtroom drama. Let us go with something the Academy we like. They love Juliet. They love the food movies, chocolate, and what have you. So we will nominate this film. But unfortunately, that ended up biting them in the ass because Taste of Things wasn't even nominated for Best International Feature. So, yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I don't know what they were thinking, but it is the French. Mike Joyce says, biggest snub to me is no Zac Efron for Iron Claw. Oh, I forgot to mention that. You're right. For Best Actor, Zac Efron was incredible in the Iron Claw. I didn't anticipate Iron Claw would get a nomination for Best Picture. It just wasn't seen that off by that many people, and they didn't have enough buzz. But I was really hoping for Zac to get a nomination. Would have been fun to see Zac in that collection of people. Again, if you increase it to 8, you can throw in Andrew Scott. You can throw in Zac Efron to really kind of encourage a young actor to go after these roles even more because of the nomination. And then the other side, and then for those of you who love DiCaprio in that film and doing this for 2 hours, he could have been nominated as well. So that's the thing at the end of the day in terms of increasing the nominations. But I agree with you, brother. That's a tough one to see Zac, because Zac did a great job in that movie. Simon Section says, I meant to type gonna see it today. Roca rules. Oh, thanks, Simon. That's very kind of you, brother. Yes, and report back to me, Simon. Tweet at me and let me know what you thought of the movie. Would love to see, man. Sam L says, do you think the Oscars should expand to 6 nominations for certain categories, including the acting and directing? No, 8. I think they should go to 8. 8. Stop fucking around. Stop trying to be elitist. 8 is more than enough. 8 allows more nominees to be a part of it. You don't have to go to 10 for Best Picture. That's 10 for Best Picture is fine, because it makes no logical sense. 10 for Best Picture, but 5 for everything else. We're going to stay the course on this side. The reason you went to 10 possible nominees is because there are more films that are available to be considered Best Pictures, and there are more. There's more high quality stuff going on out there. It doesn't mean you have to nominate 8, just like you don't have to nominate 10. But if you increase it to 8, and certain actors, actresses, directors, whatever qualify for the 8, then they're in the 8. I just think 8 is the way to go. 8 is enough, so to speak, for a few of those who are 70s fans. So, yeah, I think 8, Sam, is the way to go, not 6. Jim Fan says, I wish Zac would have got a nom for Iron Claw. I agree with you, Jim. I think we just covered that. Sam said, recently, directors branch doesn't like big IP movies, despite other branches loving the film. See Denis Villeneuve. Y'all know, I know you're 100% right. I know. Who signed their deal first in the strikes? Oh, the directors, right? Of course, because the directors see themselves. The DGA sees themselves as a little above everybody else, who were the directors. And certainly I've had conversations with directors who've called actors movable props. I've seen conversations with directors who think they are above everybody in the process, and don't want to have that directed by or filmed by credit removed when it comes to the name, because they think they're the most important person in the process. So look, some of them are not that way. And those are the directors that I like and adore. Some of them are that way. And unfortunately, a lot of them are in that DGA. And we saw the big controversy with the DGA. Remember when they were trying to keep people out who had been part of the strike, keep people out of their board, and who were writer-directors who were part of the WGA strikes, which I thought said some really ugly things about the way some of these people feel about themselves in the DGA. So no surprise that they see themselves as above certain things and see like something like Barbie and look down on it. So it's an unfortunate situation, but this is the game in Hollywood, y'all. It's absolutely the game in Hollywood. So no surprise at all. Haunted_Adam said, for the best DiCaprio impression ever. Well, I mean, look at him. I mean, that's what he did. All right. Anyway, and I know he did more than that. I'm just being funny and trying to be reductive in my criticism of his performance. All right. Let's see. Do we have any Streamlabs that came through? Yes. Dirty Mother Towson says, hi, John. My personal biggest snubs are Spider-Verse for Best Picture, Glenn Howerton for supporting, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for animation, and Saltburn for cinematography. Greta and Margot are also massive snubs, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not going to argue any of these, except maybe Howerton, because I don't think anybody saw Blackberry Brother, unfortunately. So it's no surprise he didn't get nominated. Spider-Verse for Best Picture absolutely should have been in contention. In fact, again, as I said, I would have kicked out Killers of the Flower Moon or Maestro for Across the Spider-Verse. That is a phenomenal. I watched it again the other night. I stayed up past 10 o'clock and I just was in the mood and put it on and just fucking love that movie. And there's so much being said in that movie. And unfortunately, too many people in the Academy have a bias against animated superhero films. They look at them as lesser than, and it'll take a miracle for any one of them to be nominated for Best Picture. Yeah, Teenage Mutant. We'll get to the animation one in just a second. I don't know if we're going to get cinematography, but I respect your feelings about that for Saltburn. And yeah, Greta and Margot, massive snubs. Yeah, if you want to keep sending in your Streamlabs and Super Chats as we go along, I'll answer them on the back end of the next few categories we're going to talk about. Here, let's jump into Best Supporting Actor. Best Supporting Actor here, Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. I mean, it's really fascinating to take a look at this. First of all, Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. That's a hell of a surprise and a very welcome one. And I'm so happy to see him being nominated. I thought he did a fantastic job in that movie for the limited amount of screen time that he had. He had such an effect on Jeffrey Wright and such an effect on the movie. So I was happy to see him getting nominated. De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, it's a good performance. And it's certainly De Niro going back to what he does really good, really well, is playing these kind of villainous characters within a piece directed by Scorsese. And he did an incredible job in the movie for sure. Truly chilling and scary. So no surprise to see him nominated. And of course, an Academy darling. Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. Great to see this nomination for him. Well deserved. And Downey, I love that he's pushing back on people who claiming now he's showing now what he can do as an actor by saying he was acting his ass off in those Marvel movies, and he fucking was. Ryan Gosling, great in Barbie. So phenomenal to see. And look, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about this, but I mean, people, oops, sorry about that. People talk, that's the wrong one. There we go. People talking about Ryan Gosling much more than Margot Robbie coming out of Barbie. And I know I've seen some people and some female critics being super upset about that. But look, Gosling understood the assignment. He knocked that ball out of the stadium. It was incredible to watch him throughout the movie, and I think Greta Gerwig, Noah Baumbach, if you want to be mad at anybody, you got to be mad at them. They wrote the role. They wrote the role that Ryan Gosling created and brought to life in such a fantastic and believable way. So don't be mad at Ryan. Don't be mad at the people who are enjoying Ryan in that movie. Be mad at Greta and Noah for writing the role as well as they did, because that's why Ryan shined. His talent combined with a very well written role, So he did it. He did the job, and he did the work, and he got the nomination. This is going to be interesting, to be honest with you, because when you look at these nominees here, it's a good combination with Sterling K in there, Gosling, Ruffalo. I mean, it's between. It seems like it's between Gosling and Robert Downey Jr. I think RDJ is going to get it at the end of the day, but I mean, I know Christian's been enjoying Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. I know the Academy likes Mark Ruffalo because he does get nominations, but I don't know if he does enough in that film to get the victory over Downing or Gosling. The other surprises here, no Charles Melton for May December. A lot of people felt May December should have been nominated here. I personally am happy that film only got one nomination. I think it's Screenplay or something. It got nominated for that. I'm happy it didn't get. Now Charles Melton, good actor. And again, here we go. If you increase it to 8, you can include Charles Melton. You can even include Willem Dafoe from Poor Things. So I thought it did a nice job as the God character in Poor Things. So why not put him in there? Again, you're restricting people from being able to appreciate the hard work and the dedication that these artists and creatives do in these movies by limiting to just 5 when there are more possibilities out there for these nominations to go down. So I was really surprised, to see that some of these nominees weren't in there. But yes, RDJ, I think, is going to absolutely win. If Ryan wins, that's a hell of an upset. A hell of an upset if Ryan wins. So we will see when that gets announced on, was it March 10th? March 10th. All right, Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Let's hit these now. Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, America Ferrera in Barbie, Jodie Foster in Nyad, and Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. Okay, so this I am super happy as a category to see here. America Ferrera, who is a pioneer as a Latina acting and performing. I mean, leading an ABC sitcom successfully for a number of years. What she's done on Broadway and on stage, what she's done in other mediums in film and television, and then boom, coming in with Barbie and delivering a monologue for the ages. Now, I see some of the incels getting upset about that monologue. I see some of the nutless cucks getting upset about that monologue because God forbid a woman stand strong and tell her truth about her existence and her life. Oh boy, that affects me as a man. It's nonsense. It was a fuckingly brilliantly well written monologue and incredibly well delivered by America Ferrera. I've seen Barbie 3 times, and every time that monologue just stops me cold. There, when you listen to that point of view and keep your mind open to what that existence would be like as men listening to that, I think it's a great lesson for us to understand women more and more. Not all women have the same experience. Obviously, no section of people are a monolith, but I think that monologue spoke to a large section of women, and I thought it was incredibly well done. I thought she's great in the movie. She's soft, she's tender, she's sweet, she's vulnerable, she's strong when she needs to be, she's fun and playful when she needs to be. She's has nice connection with her daughter there, and so I enjoy her performance in the movie. So I was very happy to see her being nominated for this. Not only as her performance as an actress, but also as a Latino, seeing a Latina get nominated. I was very happy to see that as well. That's why, some people are mad about, that's what I mean. Like, some people are mad about the Margot Robbie and about Greta Gerwig, which I totally understand, but there's enough here to go around that I think is really positive, that gives positive signs of how changing the body of the voters is allowing more and more performances or creatives to be nominated who would normally not be nominated in the past. So I like it that it's going that direction. Although I totally understand, of course, the anger on the snubs of Greta and Margot. So, but the snubs in this category, I think the only one I could really see is Julianne Moore for May December. I thought a lot of people were liking her performance. It seemed, as I said, that there was a groundswell of people wanting her to be nominated, but in the end, it did not happen. But I love Emily Blunt and Oppenheimer. I mean, just that scene with her and Lucas, I forget the actor's name right offhand. Can you tell I'm retired from the Schmodown? I don't remember names as easily as I used to. But yeah, her back and forth there in that interrogation scene, I thought was fantastic. Her back and forth with Cillian Murphy throughout the movie was really powerful. I mean, I think you could have thrown in Florence Pugh, who I thought was fantastic in that film as well. Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, man, let me tell you something. You see an actress come along, finally getting a chance to show what she can do. Her performance in Color Purple, man, that's the biggest reason to see the movie. Fantasia is good. Colman is good. Taraji P is good. Hell, David Allen Greer, I think, is a lot of fun in that movie. But it's Danielle Brooks who really takes what Oprah did in that first movie and goes next level or next few levels up with it. That scene where I'm not going to spoil anything, when she quietly tells Celie to not leave her alone in the prison, fuck me, man, broke me like a child. I was crying in my seat like a child. Such a beautiful scene. She does wonderful work throughout the movie. There's a lot of joy and laughter, but when she gets humbled by what happens to her with that white lady, I think that's where Danielle Brooks goes, as I said, goes next levels with her performance. It's just stellar, absolutely stellar. Jodie Foster Nyad, that's a fun. I'm so happy she got nominated. As I said, Jodie doing great work in True Detective, and Jodie doing great work throughout the years, and certainly another Academy darling. But I do think it's Divine Joy Randolph's to lose. She's been winning everything, so I won't be surprised at all if she pulls this one out. I thought she was fantastic in The Holdovers. As much as Paul Giamatti is a reason to see this film, or Dominic Sessa, who also was kind of snubbed, I would say, for his performance in that film, seeing Divine is like the top of the list to see that movie is Divine's performance. The scene in the kitchen when she remembers her son and what's going on because she's gotten a little drunk, man, that is some excellent work being done by one of the best actresses working today for sure. All right, let's see what else I've got here on my list of things. Oh yeah, best screenplay. Let's move to best screenplay. Anatomy of a Fall. Here, The Holdovers. I should say the names on this one. I think Anatomy of a Fall, screenplay by Justin Triet and Arthur Harari. The Holdovers, written by David Hemmingson. Maestro, written by Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. May December, screenplay by Sammy Birch, story by Sammy Birch and Alex McChannick. I hope that's right. And Past Lives, written by Celine Song. So Celine Song not getting nominated for Best Director for Past Lives. Joining Greta Gerwig as another female not being nominated for Best Director, but she is nominated here for the screenplay. May December, does that really need to be there? I guess. I think there are other films, other screenplays you could have thrown in there for best original screenplay. Of course, this is one that if they had moved Barbie to Best Adapted, I think Barbie would have absolutely killed this one and taken it running away. So, it's the way it went down and the way they went about this. But I think this is an interesting category. I think Holdovers takes this one, to be honest with you. I think Holdovers is the right choice, but don't be surprised if Past Lives sneaks in and grabs this one, or even Anatomy of a Fall, to be honest with you. Those are ones I don't think Maestro or May December have any chance of winning this one, but I think it's Holdovers to lose. But I would not be surprised to see Anatomy of a Fall, which is a really tense, well-written courtroom drama, murder mystery courtroom drama, take it over the Holdovers or Past Lives. But I just think Holdovers is such a well-written movie. I think it's undeniable that it's going to win. Yeah. So what are some of yours for best original? Do you guys have some for best original? Does anyone have any best original screenplays they wanted to see possibly get into this thing? It would have been interesting as maybe Zone of Interest. I think would have been possible. I don't know if that's. Oh no, it got nominated for adapted, so no, I guess not. So yeah, let me know what are some of the ones for best original screenplay you guys would have loved to have seen. Curious to hear. Let's see best adapted here. Let's get into it. American Fiction, written for the screen by Cord Jefferson. Barbie, written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Oppenheimer, written for the screen by Christopher Nolan. Poor Things, screenplay by Tony McNamara, and Zone of Interest, written by Jonathan Glazer. This again, a really nice collection of scripts here that if you're a screenwriter, I think there's a lot for you to learn from these scripts when you look at the best adapted screenplay. I mean, American Fiction, as I said, a stellar movie. How they adapted the novel, I think, works so well in the film. At times meta, at times not meta, and it's a good mixture of both as you're watching the movie. Barbie, I mean, for God's sakes, it's just a plastic doll in Barbie Land and Ken. And what Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig were able to do with the script just speaks volumes about their abilities, and to get people to enjoy the movie so much and be moved by the movie so much. And again, writing that monologue to make to the tune of $1 billion, that is incredible work there. Oppenheimer, I mean, for God's sakes, that's just a great film. So, and I'm halfway through the book it was based on. It's a dense book. So there's a lot of notes being made as I'm reading the book. So kudos to them to being able to adapt it to the way that they did and showcase the moments that they did. Poor Things, yeah, sure. I mean, why not? That's incredible film. People love it. The back and forth that Emma has with Defoe, with Ruffalo, interesting thing, especially the ones with Ruffalo. Just very interesting to see the back and forths that they have and the way it's written, for sure. Oh, and if you want to enjoy a fun conversation between two actors, you can watch the Variety conversation that I think it's via Variety or THR that has Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo interviewing each other. Really, really fun conversation between those two guys. And the Zone of Interest, no surprise. I mean, Zone of Interest, the writing on Zone of Interest, I think is just stellar. Like when you sit back and just conceive of the story of the movie, which of course is based on a source material, but the way they were able to adapt it and the way they were able to bring you into that world so believably and frustratingly and chillingly and painfully, I thought was incredible work. Just incredible work overall by the people involved in that. So yeah, no surprise to see them. I'm not a writer, so I would be curious to hear what you all think. If you're writers, if you want to let me know we're watching it live or maybe down in the comments section, what do you think should have been nominated for best adapted? What would you have moved out to replace with what you think should have been nominated for best adapted? Same thing with best original screenplay. What do you think should have been moved out, and what do you think should have been moved in for best original screenplay here in these two categories? I'd be very curious to hear, for sure. All right, one last one here before we wrap up the show. That's best animated feature, The Boy and the Heron by Hayao Miyazaki and Toshio Suzuki. Elemental for Peter Sohn and Dennis Rim. Elemental got an Oscar nomination. Nimona for Nick Bruno, Troy Kwan, Karen Ryan, and Julie Zachary. I know a lot of people are happy that Nimona got nominated. Robot Dreams, Pablo Berger for Ivan Cormanzana, Ignacio Stape, and Sandra Tapia Diaz. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Kemp Powers, Justin K. Thompson, Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Amy Pascal. All right, this is a great category. I do not know Robot Dreams, so now I'm going to add that to my list to things to watch. I do need to watch Nimona. I have not seen Nimona, but I know a lot of people have been very happy to see Nimona being nominated. I was a little bummed, as one of our watchers pointed out, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wasn't nominated. The Super Mario Brothers wasn't nominated. I liked both of those movies. I did. I enjoyed Super Mario a lot. Mutant Ninja Turtles was a blast. And I thought was a really novel way to present that show, and arguably the best, to me, the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. I don't care what anybody says, live action or animated. I think that's the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. Like people felt Into the Spider-Verse was the best Spider-Man film they'd ever seen. I felt that way about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I was sad to see it go, not get nominated. But I mean, The Boy and the Heron, I saw that. It is a perfect Miyazaki film. And by that, I mean, I love the first hour. I kind of fall asleep as it's drifting into the animals and all that for about 20 minutes. And then it ends with a phenomenal bang. That is my experience with just about every Miyazaki film. Spirited Away, all of them. They get to that middle section and it gets a little like, oh, look, we're animals and we talk and we're doing things. And I start to kind of zone out, but then it brings it all together there for the final part of the movie. So I honor and respect his greatness. And I understand why people love him. I certainly enjoyed Boy and the Heron and what it had to say. And as I don't know who was saying that earlier, the mixture of the monster film and telling the story of this kid as he's navigating stuff, I thought was great. Elemental, what a phenomenal surprise! I mean, considering that film was just tagged with being a bomb and tanking and not being good, here it is a great success, comeback success story. It ended up making a certain amount of money, I think 400, 500 million at the box office, when people had wrote it off after the first weekend. People saying, see, Pixar is lost. Pixar doesn't know what it's doing. And here it just kept chugging along. And now it has an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the people involved with Elemental should feel very proud about that movie and how it has endured. You know, sometimes it's not about just blowing the doors off the box office right off the bat. Sometimes it's a slow and steady march, and enough people keep hearing word of mouth. Enough people keep wanting to bring their children to go and see it, or you want to go see it over and over again, that it gets into that position financially and gets itself a nomination. So a lot of respect for the boy in the for Elemental getting to that position. But Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my choice. Obviously, I mean, again, I said I watched that thing the other day again, hour and 40, something like that. Watched it again the other night. Just thoroughly love that movie. Love that ending. Love what happens to Miles in that movie. So just couldn't be a bigger fan of that movie on so many levels. So, you know, just a big fan of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We'll have more to talk about with these categories as when Jeff and I talk about it on the Hot Mic for sure. The Geek Buddies, I'm sure we'll have conversations about it on our main show this week. And so before I wrap up, though, let's hit these last few Streamlabs and Super Chats here. What do we got? Sam says, see your point, but as a prognosticator, expanding categories would be less fun. A lot of categories would have no drama in predictions. That's not fucking true at all. That's not fucking true at all. You would still be wondering about what would win. And you're not what kind of Sam, where are you a prognosticator? Tell me, where are you I'd love to know, where are you a prognosticator? Did you have a final list? Because I tweeted this out last night. All these Oscar prognosticators, they had like 35 different lists and nominated like 30 different people in every category. And it was like, just so they could say, hey, you know, I called it. So I want to see your final list, Sam, and how close you were to the Oscars thing, because I'm always interested to see these Oscar prognosticators. And I don't think expanding categories would be less fun at all. Why? Why would that be less fun? You're obviously not a sports fan. Sports has expanded playoffs almost every few years. They've included more teams, and it's made sports more fun, more competitive. It made people, there's more drama in who's going to win, who's not going to win. And so because teams are being unfairly left out, who are just as good, if not better, than the teams that we're letting in, you have to factor in too, like a slow campaign versus a campaign that started earlier in the year. These are these things that you have to kind of factor in. So the drama would still be there, man. The drama would still be a part of this whole thing because someone has to win it. And that's where the drama is built, in who's going to win it. So that's super important when you look at it. So I couldn't disagree with you more, Sam. It seems stubborn to increase the amount of films that are in contention, but still keep to some arrogant belief that only 5 should be nominated. That makes no sense. The drama will still be there if you add 2 to 3 more nominees in each category. It's not a big deal. Did you think less drama for Best Picture when they went to 10? Did you really think that? It doesn't make sense. Wayne Edwards says Greta Gerwig was robbed, and I agree with you. It is time for more than 5 nominations per category. There were so many great films in 2023. Yeah, 100%. So many great films in 2023. Thoroughly agree with you. And so I don't think it was a great year for movies, but I think it was a damn good year for movies, especially when you factor in the foreign movies that got nominated here and the foreign movies that have been on people's minds as they've been watching these movies and put them in contention in their minds for awards. So 100% agree with you. Fredtastic says, hey, Outlaw. I completely agree with expanding the noms. Having 10 best movies, but 5 best directors makes it sound like those extra movies got nominated in spite of the bad direction. Yeah, 100%. Across the Spider-Verse deserved a Best Picture nomination for sure. Yeah, agree with you, Fred, 100% on both of those points. Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense. 5 best directors, but 10 best. Well, what did those other 5 not direct themselves? Like, it just doesn't make sense, to be honest with you. I don't mind the occasional one that doesn't get nominated, like an occasional Best Picture, like The Holdovers, but Alexander Payne not getting them. And even though I think it's ridiculous, that can't be the way it goes with best directors. You have to increase. And anybody saying you shouldn't increase is just lost in the Stone Age. Well, lost in the Stone Age. It's not the way it goes anymore. It's ridiculous. If you go to a school and a school has 500 kids, and when you got to the school, it was the standard that, 5 kids got one, the best student or whatever. But then the school goes to 750 kids and only 5 kids still win. That makes no fucking sense. You're allowing more children to be in the school. Therefore, more children are in contention to be nominated. Therefore, you should expand the number of nominees because there's more people. Percentage-wise, it's logical. There's no logical reason, none, zero, other than arrogance, condescension, or Stone Age stubbornness to keep it at 5. Zero. There's none because you're increasing the number of nominees. If you're not going to bring in foreign films to be more of a regular contender for these nominations, you're increasing the pool tenfold. So to me, that's, well, not tenfold, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. You're increasing the amount of movies that can be nominated here. And by increasing, you must also increase the nominations. It's just logical. It just all makes logical sense in my mind. You may not agree. I mean, that's fine. It's your right, it's your prerogative. It's a free country, free world. But like in my mind, I think it's nonsense to keep it at 5. All right. Paul says he's a Vegas bookie. Yeah, I can see that. All right. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me live here. I just felt like, blowing some steam off of these nominations. I'm not someone like some of my other fellow critics who are constantly tweeting about it, constantly posting about it, because they love doing that. I've been through so many of these campaigns and I've been through watched the Oscars for decades. So for me, it just becomes a little exhausting to keep talking about or prognosticating or posting or all this kind of stuff. It's not my jam. But when the Oscars come around, that's my jam. Talking about it is my jam. I love it because I grew up loving the Oscars. The Oscars were the ceremony that moved me to love film and really taught me the films that I need to be watching, the films that I need to put on my list of must-watch films. And so I've always appreciated the Oscars for that. And will I take it down sometimes? Will I criticize it sometimes? Sure. But I never stop loving it. Just like, you criticize your family members. You never stop loving your family members. You just want them to do better. That's the place I always come from when I criticize the Oscars. I love them like a family member. And when I have criticism, it's just about wanting them to do better in the long run. So that's just the way I feel about it. But I hope you enjoyed this show. Thank you so much for watching The Nation. I love and appreciate you all madly. Everybody in the Outlaw Nation, love you all so much for supporting the channel, keeping us going. Please make sure you hit a like on this video, share it on your social media, leave your comments down below. Keep them civil. I will delete you or hide you from my channel if you act the fool. Keep them civil. Disagree with me all you want. Keep it respectful. And post them down there in the comment section. Disagree with each other all you want. Keep it respectful. I will delete you. I don't care if you got 1 subscriber or 5 million subscribers. I will delete you and hide you from my channel. I don't need you. So toxicity, get that out of here. Have good, healthy debate, but keep it respectful. I got no problem with that. Yeah, there you go. I'm spitting all over, so I got to get out of here. All right. Thank you all so much. Follow me at The Rook Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Don't forget, I'm going live in about an hour to do Game Time on the Game Time Sports channel. We're going to talk about the NFL games from this weekend and jump into our predictions for the championship games from the past weekend, games from the past weekend, jumping into the championship game predictions for this weekend. There with me and Winston A. Marshall on the Game Time Sports channel at 11 a.m. PT. Anything else? No, that's it. Oh, yeah. Look for, hopefully, we'll do a hot mic later on today with me and Jeff arguing about this stuff. or sometime on Thursday, we'll do that as well. So, and the Geek Buddy is coming up later on this week. Be well. Love you all madly. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Take care.